I'm Phil, not Tim, but thanks this morning for joining our webinar or our FAQ hour. We're going to go through a few bits and pieces. I'm sort of normally used to doing a lot of these with a bit of interaction, so going one way for me is going to be a little bit interesting, but no doubt I will nail it for everyone. All right, so we're going to go through, talk about a few of our navigation changes that we've had within the screen and within the application. I'll share my screen in a second, guys. Go through, show a few of the fundamentals around that. Then we'll talk about a few changes that we're going to do with our training with Gianni there. Talk about a few of the layers, how to turn them on and off, because we've been getting a few of those requests coming through, especially with some of our newer people jumping on board. Talk about amending some setbacks. And if I get a bit of time, we'll have a look at a few of the 3D pieces that we've been loading in into our landscaping bits and pieces, but we'll see how we go based on some time. All right, so I'll get my screen started now. Should be popping up in about 2 seconds. And here we go. All righty, so we can type in an address. I'm just going to use this cool, funky one down here because it's a nice flat block of land for me to sort of work from. And a few of the details will pop up accordingly there. Okay, so just using a standard sort of house for us, I'll go through some of the navigation tools. So you'll see anyone who's been a user for a little while that some of the items over here have kind of disappeared. We've kind of moved it in a way to make it a little bit more streamlined, and we've done that sort of on purpose, and it just means with the mouse button we get to use then the left click and the right click portion of that, so a little bit more and a little bit easily. So we'll just steady that up. Plonk our little beastie of a house over here, and with the left click of a button you'll notice that some of the items that we had before now will appear up here. So the big one for us is the ability to flip it. So we're not going outside over here anymore. We can just use the tools that are on this side, which is pretty a bit easier, especially if we're doing it with a client face to face. It's a little bit more of a seamless chat. The other one for us is our structural elevation tool. So our structural elevation tool to talk about where the varying parts or the costs that might be attributed to the build itself with the various setbacks that need to go into place, but more often where the contours are with the cut and fill and where you want to cut into the block accordingly there. So that's all done with the sort of left click of the button. Again, the annotation, so writing an annotation into there or writing a comment directly onto it. You know, my new home as an example. How good's my typing skills this morning? And then we'd have that annotation there, or alternatively we can then also, you know, delete the structure itself. So does that all make sense for everyone? I'm pretty sure from that with a bit of the tooltip menu. So again, we've got the items that have now disappeared off the left column now and attribute themselves onto the right. So we use the left click of the button there. So I'm no wizard when it comes to some of the training stuff like Gianni does there, but I quite like the fact that we've got this, the tool the way we've got it here now. So I'll just delete that structure off there as an example. So we know how to contour, turn on the toggle of the contours on and off there, and again the additional info tab here. So some of the clients have been wondering how to turn on some of the items on and off. And for us here, we can do that using these for including the adjoining buildings. So if I again bring another structure in, same structure. Particularly important with some of the build types. So some, you know, again, every client likes things a little bit differently, or the way the customers want it presented, whether it's, you know, too busy or too noisy. So again, turning on and off the setbacks. The drawing lengths, if we were putting some bits and pieces in, any rulered measurements. So our ruler still stays on this right column here to measure out. But again, if we were to then toggle on and off that ruler measurement, pretty accordingly there, and any of the adjoining buildings. So again, if with the structure here, it doesn't pick up the 2 adjoining buildings because of the flat block here. But if you were trying to use the 3D, the item there to use the wire basket around that would be there. Breeze, this one I'd normally ask any questions from anyone within the team within the chat. I'll keep rocking and rolling. No questions from that. Awesome. Okay, so within the link, Bree is going to share the new rollout for the way we're going to do some training. So for quite a long time, the sales team would normally book the training and or your account manager. Alternatively, a lot of our clients 10 to once guided using the help support channel up in here to be able to basically book their training from here. So booking a training request in here and adding their information in there. For onboarding a lot of our newer clients there, especially the ones in essentials and so on and forth, we're going to start a new webinar program. So a webinar program will be held daily, and we're going to group in all of our pool, sheds, house builders and attribute those, and we'll do those either daily, 3 times a week, 5 times a week, to basically group in what we're going to conduct there. So we're hoping to get 4 or 5 clients into those sorts of training sessions, and then Gianni will be able to not have his brain melted off with having to do 8 or 10 or 12 sessions a day with getting a lot of our newer subscriptions on, and hopefully with that be able to broaden some of the questions that come out for a lot of the clients. So we still get that one-on-one feeling, but within small group sessions. So we're going to give that a trial and see how that goes within the Australian team. And I believe that's also being rolled out globally for Australia, New Zealand, and also the US, as we're indeed increasing the numbers of training resources we've got over in the US team as well. So there's the link there that Bree's put into there. We may well put in an EDM and send that all out to everyone and get that out to everyone after this meeting, along with all of our other clients, just as a par for course. Again, when we have our welcome aboard email come out, the new link will be attributed into that. Alrighty, so the various layers in introduction there. So the layers is something that we have been testing and using within the New South Wales, and we're slowly but surely rolling out out across the varying parts of Australia. I believe too that we're working pretty hard into the US. New Zealand, I think it also has this structure pretty close to ready to go. Now this particular site doesn't have too many burdening or affected areas, and of course we can always find out what would be affected within the area within up here onto the zone. So if it was bushfire affected, it had a flood layer, aquifacture for any guys over in New Zealand, or any sort of mine subsidence, anything that might burden the block would normally be noted and put into our affected field here. And so within that we can also highlight or turn on those features. So in this particular case, I can turn off the trees. If you can notice in here, I can also just take ourselves away. I might go to one of our new estates here in Waddingham Park as an example, and I'll show you basically like a bushfire layer as well. Just switch to a block that's over here. So you can see here that we've got a high fire for bushfire. That's what's affecting this area here. Where it's prone and what's sort of going on around about there, and then the varying layer that would come on here. So if we were to highlight that and then show that, it's basically showing the bushfire corridor that would run through that channel there. So if I boomed down to some parts of areas of Sydney that might be heritage affected or anything like that, then those are varyingly highlighted. So we're rolling that out across Australia slowly but surely. Digitizing some of this information takes a fair bit of effort with some of the development. So we're just trying to do that as we go stage by stage, if that makes sense to everyone. Okay. So after that, we've got to talk about some amended site setbacks. So this is a really, really big one as we sort of start to look at rolling this out into some other areas, especially within the newer states. So it's a sort of a halfway in between point for us guys, as an example. So if we were to get our home in here, this looks like too nice a home to potentially knock down and rebuild, especially with the way they've got that beautiful garden there. But if we were to put our home and dwelling in there, we go to our rules that we've got knocked back over here, and we can roll down there. And if in this area here, we've got the CDC rules, which in this particular area in New South Wales, at least, will absolutely work out the averages of the blocks around it, and then with the dwellings that are there, and then put the permissible setback that's required for that particular area there. But to adjust them, we can scroll down here now, and I don't know if anyone's sort of logged in or if people who've been with us for a wee while, but you can actually now come in here and retune them in, and then they will adjust accordingly once we've set them in and locked them back. So I'm running in our demonstration account or a production account, so there's a lot of sort of testing in bits and pieces there, but I encourage you guys to, when you're going in there in your own under your own steam and having a look, having a bit of a play within those adjustments. I think that this will be a good one for any sort of odd odd blocks that we've got in some potentially newer states on a corner, and you want to make those adjustments on the fly, because you know what the known setbacks in. If the rules have come in slightly obscure, you can make the adjustments there. So I think that that's a massive plus there, and that's been heavily talked about. So I'm quite happy that we've been able to roll that out finally to you guys, especially after having that chatted about and for so long. I'm definitely having a very fast FAQ hour, I must admit that. So we've got that. So I'll go back to my cool block here, and we've been testing quite a lot of the 3D landscaping tools, because recently we've been rolling out and having lots and lots of discussions with some of our landscaping partners, and bringing them on board and listening to a fair bit of their feedback. So I wanted to sort of show you some of the cool features that are sort of coming out within that space there. I know that in the past that Tim has already showed a lot of you some of the photogrammatic imagery from putting in using our polygon tools and the like there, which is handy for drawing driveways or working on the dirt and stuff. And as we're just working on some of the scaling there, it's been a lot of fun. But I might just show you some of the 3D objects that we have coming in now. There, alrighty. So one of the items, which is one of Bree's favorite, is the little doghouse here. So we will place this little doghouse here. And in fact, with obviously some of the current build costs, some of our customers, this is what we can sort of afford. We've got these really cool cypress trees that we've got in here, and again, using that left click button, we're able to copy and paste those items, which is really handy. And if we had a dollar figure for these would automatically start building up in our quote form. Okay, so something to keep it out there, and once we've done, we just push the stop button. And again, getting to the corners of where we sort of put that wire cage around it, we can adjust where they are. So really handy to get these nicely adjusted in place accordingly. And then, if you remember this block before with some of the contours that were in there, I can turn those on. So again, we could talk about what we needed to do that. But as we turn it into the 3D mode, 3D takes just a little bit of time to load up generally when we're sharing on a Zoom, especially with my laptop. You will see that these guys have positioned in where I put them in there, including the little doghouse. So it's not just one single item being demonstrated now. It's multiple items all being shown in 3D. So quite a large Italian cypress tree there with a lot of realism. Again, as we start to pause that page there, we have all of the screen catching up in the background there. So I think for with a lot of real time there, and although I can't show you a sneak peek of what Tim was able to show me with what some of the developers did yesterday, with a lot of the other items around us now working into a bit of a popping up sequence, because I'm not sure if a lot of you know, especially some of you, the newer guys, 3D really rolled out for us September last year. So, we've been working hard every single month to sort of try and deliver something fresher and cleaner within that 3D space. And it just keeps on getting better and better and better. So I'm getting pretty excited about that, and it's always a lot of fun to show a lot of our clients. So an Italian cypress with a bit of snow on it, probably not something that we'd have in Quakers Hill at any time of the year, although it is sort of cooling down as we speak. And again, the items do come on with a bit of the shading as well. So again, the variable there, you can even see the little doghouse there shows the varying shade that's sort of happening backwards and forwards there. And in fact, we even got the stars and the moon setting there. So I don't know, if you were a landscape gardener, or even if you're looking to position having your home and then your dwelling, and then you had a few of those features, maybe not a 12-meter tall cypress pine, but that real ability to sort of demonstrate and show what the total dream is for a client, or the reality of, I think that this would be a really, really handy tool to absolutely demonstrate that, take a snapshot of it, show the client, or show them in person, let them be a part of it in real time. And switching that back to 2D, go back to 2D, and then again, you can adjust your items at any given point, and then we can again throw them into 3D. So, whether that's a house or, the dog house or whatever you wanted it to be, you guys can adjust that accordingly. Again, we can break that back into 3D and show it after you've made that movement adjustment. I've got a question here, so I'll just quickly stop sharing and reload my page. Showing the finished floor level is off slab. What if we don't want those levels shown? Can I turn it off? Good question. So we can go up here, reshare my page. So I'll just create a new draft up there. So weatherboard. Beastie 3D weatherboard in here. So when you're talking about your finished floor level, so like this demonstrating the finished floor level values here shown, is this what you're sort of talking about there? So being able to turn off those, or are you talking about something else in 3D? Sorry, anonymous attendee. I'm just trying to better understand what you're after. Because if we turn off the toggle ability, we can just turn it off on the spot there. Is that what you sort of mean? Turned it on yesterday and had a problem turning it off. Okay, yeah, fair enough. Okay, so you just, the best thing to always do with the buttons is just go back to the buttons and then switch them on and off. I must admit, I always, give myself a bit of an uppercut every now and then when I come to, just drawing an object like a polygon like this as an example, and then physically wanting to go and edit it. I'm forever doing this and then moving this, and in my head, I would naturally go and click off it as an example, thinking that it would go away. I've always got to remind myself to left click and then, turn off, go back off the button to turn it off. Did that help it? Or was it maybe just a little bug with the structural elevation tool for yesterday? No worries. I'm glad I can answer them. I'm certainly not as good as Tim or Gianni at answering some of these questions because I'm very much used to sort of demonstrating the program and probably using it in a real life sequence when dealing it in front of a client. Any other questions about some of the 3D landscaping tools? I'm hoping everyone sort of sees a bit of a benefit with something like that. I mean, even if I had a home here and you guys as some potentially home or shed builders being able to get, loading in similar items into your lists and then being able to demonstrate that, I think that it's a pretty powerful example, even for definitely for some of our pool builders when you're sort of trying to show and demonstrate some shadowing with the environment around it. I think that there would be some massive benefits around a fair bit of that. Another area when we're talking about the finished floor levels and stuff like that, accordingly with the 3D is, as many of you know, any two-dimensional object that's sort of drawn when you've loaded it in and you've nominated its wall heights will nearly all the time generate for you a home outline and put a funky little roof on it. Another area that some people have raised, at least in a couple of the demos that I've been in, is obviously all of the blue numbers are indicating the fill, and the red numbers over here are indicating the cut. So I know it's not too obvious, but it's a good one to sort of just relatively have in the back of your mind with the levels over there. Again, we've breached the setback, so we'll plonk him back there, and again everything adjusting in real time in there. And then that 3D model in here that can boot up. I'm just wondering if it was you might have had the left click on for the model side of things as an example, and then you had the left button, the right button clicked up, so then it sort of turned everything on. So you had the left and the right and the up and the down positioning if you were in the 3D, if you're in that sort of 3D space. Have we got any more questions, guys? Because at the rate I'm going, I've almost got an FAQ half hour. I feel like I need to talk a little bit more. Yeah, so the adjoining houses can be switched off using that sort of the toggle view. I think that's an interesting question to sort of raise. I'm of the, like, in my opinion, I always think if I was going to demonstrate what 3D was going to do for a client, I would actually spend the extra minute or two adjusting those, adjusting the wire baskets across. I accidentally clicked on the property instead of the actual adjusting of the basket, so that was my bad. Taking the time to adjust the homes next to you to line them up. I think if you're going to show 3D, you should show 3D with the dwellings that are there, and then be able to then in turn take off the you want to show the shadowing ability for that, because that by all accounts has the I think it has a bit of wow factor with the clients. The adjoining buildings button here should turn off the variables there for the surrounding areas. Rod. So I've had that shared in the chat, so everyone's got the link for that. I've got a few other any more questions that I'm missing here. Great, thanks. No worries. I've got to scroll down on that. Is there anything directly that I haven't shown today that someone would like me to go back through? Also, is there a future provision to have an automatic setback when you upload a floor plan? So for us, it's each individual block, Rod. So every block in any given specific area is going to have that setback. So if you took that same house on one block in one area versus another block in another area, the house is what the house is, but the setback for that for that specific block is going to be specific to that block. So that's where that sort of outlines there. So when you're loading up a house, you're not going to load the setback for that particular house, because I could put that house in Victoria, or I could put that house in Queensland, two different sets of rules, same house, if that answers that, probably that question there. Rob, I probably can try and show you a 3D pool. In my particular demo account, I do not have the sexiest of 3D pools, but I'll certainly do my best. Okay, here you go, new draft. That's a real reminder too, guys. So the drafts are all naming or tagging. So having that real ability to show a client multiple different, whatever you're working on with the home, and then going back to it. So the other feature, I guess, as I started a new draft is, if you really wanted to, whatever drafts you have done, copy them. So if you're halfway through doing something, but there's a variation that you wanted to make to that, you just go here, copy that actual draft, tag it as, draft B, or for Mr. Smith, with a driveway or without a driveway, and show the variables within that, without having to, start all over again. I think that's a really big one that a few guys get stuck down in a hole with. I'm just going to quickly stop sharing, guys, because the lagginess is our friend Mr. Zoom. So I'll just give him a second to catch up. And then I'll come back and reshare my screen there. Screen moment should be back in a little moment. I'll try the 3D, the Maradona. We'll see how we go up with that with 3D. Bit of a blank out there. Give me a sec. Yada, yada, yada. Cool. All right. So is my little beastie going to move? There he is. Rotate him around there. We've got the auto-generated coping around the side here. You guys can turn those on and off, or load them in if you want them or don't want them. Everyone's a little bit different on personal and preference choices there. A little bit of a sook. So I can assure you guys it's the appliance more than the actual application. I know that sounds like an excuse, but I can 100% tell you that it's my little computer having a little run on, as it's got a shared video card there with the Zoom, and we've got a fair few humans in here today. The generated coping around the outside, a question that sort of comes up. So you guys can preset these up in there. Please feel free to talk to your account manager, or if you haven't had training yet, get it up there, and you can set those parameters into when you're loading up the particular item for the pool stuff. I'm 100% going to tell you now, I am not the pool guru when it comes to those bits and pieces. But I can, Belinda, I'll absolutely have your name taken down from here, and I can get your account manager or one of the team to get in touch with you and show you how to do that, if that helps you. It's something that, and that's the other thing you guys have got to remember. I'm in the larger shared our demo account for us. So anytime in the background, the developers need a space to be able to work within, that they can physically go and break. And sometimes that happens in the middle of one of my demos, just like now. But worse over is when it's happening in the middle of a demo in an FAQ hour. Never amazing for me. But some people can change any variables within our editing, because within most of us here, we've all got that sort of managerial ability to go and change and tweak something. So sometimes I can load up any item and someone might have changed a parameter on it, which is, it can always be a bit of fun. You never know what you're going to get sometimes. Just get the pools, 3D pools. Go back to my favorite block here, or alternatively, let's go and just go find someone's backyard and go plonk a pool in the back there. Although around these sorts of areas, it can be a bit harder to find a big backyard, but there's one there, and the next door neighbour's got a nice pool there that we might just use. So again, guys, showing how to quickly line up the elements of the house there. The more detail and the more time you want to spend doing this, the more and more sophisticated the roof type will get, the cleverer it is. It's a bit of an AI function for us. Understand that it's basically attributing this data really quickly when you automatically go and you know, order a screen up for the site that you're trying to look at. So that is definitely on the rise. Adjust that around there, that big pool. Looks like it's going to fit. Looks like it's going to fit, even not encroaching on that easement. So that's even better for us, and the pool rules are engaged there. So that's great. Got that there. Let's go throw that into 3D. And hopefully that is a full 3D model. I'm not just saying the words 3D for me. If I was to turn on the contours, we'd probably see that the block itself was sloping away there. So we can see the cut and fill built around this particular item there to sort of level balance that, including that coping surround. And again, from here, we can make it go into the ground a little bit more, sort of demonstrate what's sort of going on there. I don't have the pre-populated pricing for that, but the actual measurements themselves are in there set up for there. So if you need help with some of the recipe setup, Gianni is definitely one of the guys to sort of help you out with some of that information. And again, so here we can demonstrate and show a client where you're going to have to look at retaining, putting the putting the pool into the ground, etc., etc. Did that, hopefully that answered a 3D pool scenario for somebody. You probably should have rotated it around the other way. Again, you can do it on the fly as well. So in 3D there, you just got to take that care and time and know that it's doing it all in a relatively full on real-time space, a bit differently to any of the other sort of products that are out there at the time, at the moment anyway. We got any other questions, guys? So again, if you want to take it back into the 2D and then show what you're doing over here, and we can go back into the 3D space. Oops, there we go. Go back into 3D. Watch the pool. Look like it's created a dropped edge beam for days in there. Loading in that data accordingly. Turn on the shadowing. And this is why I think, having the other homes is really, really important. Not just, definitely the pool builders that have come on board that are using 3D love the fact that you show the shadowing that it's happening from a neighboring home as well. So again, I'm no wizard, but if that means that you need a slightly, you want to have a conversation with the client about needing a slightly bigger heat pump, or the heat pump itself is going to have to run a little bit longer during the day because for 3 or 4 hours of the day, your next door neighbor is going to be shading it or shadowing it, then that's a good conversation to have, and maybe a great way to potentially look at you know, upselling a particular item, because you can show to them in real time what's really going to happen. Waterfall features and other landscape features, Rob. Absolutely. So the features themselves so if you had a 3D pool filter in the particular format, you could absolutely load that in and then show and then demonstrate that in there. It's almost the same way as we've got those landscaping objects. So the idea for us is to build multiples in there, so then you can get that full 3D show. It's at the power of what you guys can load up. You know, we're trying to look at potentially well, yeah, I'll put it out to you guys here. I mean, we've asked some others that we've had some onboarded. If we were to create a library and put the library into the system, and you guys had the ability to have access to that library for a small add-on fee per month, would we be interested? If I get a few yeses in that kind of answers what most people are saying, but I'd be interested to know if that's something. Yeah, that's been the sentiment there, especially with some of the landscaping guys, but certainly a lot of the pool guys. Yeah, cool. All right, cool. That's a good takeaway from us, and I'll have to get that in a live format. So I always bring it up in some of the demos, or some of my team do as well. But you know, we're working on stuff in the background. It's just a case of, you know, how many times to make that. But at the end of the day, you know, our job is to help you guys sort of build more and sort of sell more, and certainly, you know, increase that funnel speed of getting a job to site for us, you know, so, and for you guys as well. So your success is a lot, you know, our success is going to be based off a lot of your success there. So the more we can help you guys out, that's it. Within that parameter there. Have we got any last questions before I probably wrap it up for the FAQ hour? Because many of you will be either working till late this afternoon, or potentially knocking off a little bit early to hop in the car and travel to Yamba or any Timbuktu or anywhere else with the family for an extra break. I don't get that luxury, but I'm sure some of you do. Anything else? Oh, no, cool. No, I'm glad I could be helpful, Julie. That's a really positive thing. Also, my first FAQ, guys, actually sitting behind the seat, so a little bit more nervous than I thought I would be, but hopefully I didn't create too much mental anguish on you guys, or be too painful, especially when it's one-sided. If that's all the questions we have, I'll give us another sort of 30 seconds. If not, if there's no more, then I will probably bid everyone adieu and stop sharing. That's cool. Thanks, Rob. I appreciate that. All right, I'll stop sharing now, and I hope you guys have an amazing long weekend ahead, and take care to everyone. Bye from us. Thanks for jumping on board and being a part of it, and I hope you guys have an amazing April and a great coming few months. I'm ending the webinar now, guys. So see you later. Bye from Can I Build and Phil.